Hey there, welcome to Area 51 Raceway and welcome to Hangar 1 here. We're at the Oval and today we're going to talk about basic building a slot car chassis. I know I've done a lot of videos on building slot car chassis and I know I said I ain't doing anymore, but sometimes the first timer really gets overwhelmed even when we have the kits to make it available and all the parts. So we're going to do something here to make it kind of more understanding, at least by what the rules say when you build the car and, the width of it, so forth, the spirit, what it should be, and everything. And I'm going to go through a process here, step by step, on building a slot car chassis. So if you're interested, this is going to be a series of videos that I'm going to be doing about building a brass chassis with a slot car corner kit, or what you have lying around. If you have pieces of brass, I'll kind of go overview on it, just on how I start out and how I do it. And these chassis, you can make some real simple inline chassis that run really well and really fast. Anybody can pretty much do it. It's not very hard to do. I'm going to go over it and explain to you how I start the process and how we just get building. So these videos again are to get people encouraged to do scratch building, because there's not many out there that do it. Honestly, a lot of people will get cars from manufacturers and then just tune them and just have fun, or get kits or pods or existing chassis pieces and parts and put it together and do that. Which that's fine. I have nothing against this, but when you're doing brass and wire, it's a whole different thing. Uh, it's a lot. It could be a lot bit more challenging, because if people don't know how to solder or don't want to desire to spend the time soldering or think it's a pain in the ass, blah blah blah, it's really not. Once you build one or two, after the third or fourth one, it becomes pretty easy to do, and then you start experimenting with your own chassis and building your own things and experimenting. So with that being said, let's head over to the bench, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about and how we start building a chassis kit, or excuse me, a slot car chassis, a brass wired chassis. So let's head over to the bench right now. All right, here we're at the bench, and I'm going to go over pretty much setting your width as I whack my caliper here and probably move the camera. Set your width on your body. So the body we're going to choose is the Falcon. So this body is available at Slot Car Corner. This is a short track body, or as we're listing as Steve's listing a short track body. So you can see these already have the wheel wells hogged out. A real good body to start out with if you're a beginner, and excellent to paint. Really easy to sand. It's a good body, and it does real well. So, and it fits the bill. So what I generally do when I have everything here, so I have my wheels. I'm going to use the new anodized wheels, the 15x10s. If you do purchase a Slot Car Corner kit, it will come with the wheels and all the brass and everything you need. So this is a one-stop deal here. So there's also scanning these UCR codes, or QR codes, excuse me, to the videos that I have already made for building chassis. But this is a real good kit. Here's an example of what this kit and an Atlantis Camaro Z28 body, and this is what I built here. And as you can see, it's a very simple kit. It comes with the guide and everything, and this is a simple chassis. This car runs real well. This is an earlier version of this chassis kit because it has the short can motor, which now we have the long can motors in the new one, and also the new bodies. The new kits come with wood. Pieces of wood, so you can make your body mount, so you don't have to worry about that. This is basically what you can make out of the kit, and this is the model kit that I made out of. You can see I hugged the wheel wells out and everything for this one, and I used mesh and stuff like that. But now the kits come with the wood, and now we have bodies, and we have interiors too for these cars. So the stock interiors that we're making, we are making specific interiors in the future for other cars. So just for the summer event, we'll have those probably ready. But for now, you could even the winter event's almost over, actually, because it starts this Friday, or this Saturday, so you wouldn't be able to build a car that fast and get it there. So, but we will have interior kits for specific cars, or we'll have the universal one that'll work on this as well. And the universal one is basically like this one right here that I have for the Camaro that I'm still building, that I need to make the interior for. As you can see, these fit here. Up in there, that's a little bit too short, and this is the problem we're running too with some of these, that they foul the rear wheel. And we want to take care of that because Dave's been working on that real much. And you can see this is a higher example of a higher kit in there. So I mean, we have work to do with these with these bodies to make an interior that will fit better. But you can make that fit, no problem. But going back to what we're going to do is we're going to get the width here. So your kit will come with this. This is 8130 brass from K&S. And what I generally do is I get a measurement of, I start out proud. I start out with 4 millimeters. What I do is I mark 4 millimeters with a pen, which I'm going to get here in a minute. And I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this better, what I'm doing. And right here, you're going to see that I put it on my little ruler here, and I'll mark right here. So I'm trying to get it, stay out of the way of the camera, and my big head being in the camera. So there's 4. You could use, cutter with that, a little saw. I use a tubing cutter, which I have, which they're cheap from Amazon. Again, you got to have all the tools to do this. The kit doesn't include the tools. You still have to buy the tools to break everything down and do your work. And I just get where I marked, and I just start spinning this. And this is going to basically, let me move the camera back a little so it's not hitting the table. Therefore, you're not banging it around as I spin this. And we're gonna cut, and just take your time doing it. Eventually, we'll get there. There you go. You're done. So that's 4. All right, 4 millimeters. And then what I do to clean this out, really simple, is you get an X-Acto blade, get a sharp blade, a brand new one. Don't stick yourself like I almost did there. And you're just going to trim it around like that. You could use a rat tail file as well, a drill bit that fits in here perfectly. And do that. And this side, same thing. This is so you could clean it, so you could put your bushings in here for the axle, right? And you're just cleaning it out. Also, you could get a piece of sandpaper and scour it like this, which I do also, which let me get a piece of sandpaper as an example. A piece like this. I'll do that. And we get it nice and, flat as I can. You can see right there, there's still a little edge there. Your bushing's not going to fit, so we're going to go again and just scrape it. There you go. And you just make sure the bushing fits in there. And so this way it doesn't give you a problem. Then I'm going to get some bushings, which I have here in my parts area. And I'm going to get these right here. Now they make these the 3/32 ones, which do come in the kit. And this is a flat flange type. It doesn't have like a kind of like a mound to it like on some of the other ones, but this one's flat, and I like this because it's nice and flat, and you can have a flat surface. I just prefer it that way. And you're going to do is get your bushings and fit it in there. There you go. Right? There's your 4 millimeters. So we have a total of, get our Mr. Minotoyo caliper. Excellent caliper, but any caliper will do. Got 42, what's that, 83? 4283. There you go. Here's your measurement. If you want to be specific, available to me. Now what I'm going to do is put it through here. And there we go. That's my, basis there, what I'm going to use. Then I'm going to do is get a set of wheels, open them up. And be careful when you get these out. You don't throw the little grub screws and fling them everywhere. It happens. One thing about silicone mats is everything bounces off there real easy, as you can see, just like that. So you want to be careful when you take them out, or they can go flying everywhere. Otherwise, I recommend getting extra set of grub screws from Slot Car Corner to have in your stock if you plan on losing stuff. But these all come with the kit as well. These wheels are not in the kit though. These anodized wheels, it'll be regular steel wheels. These are anodized wheels that just came out. But again, you could always buy these and then save the wheels for another build. So there's ways of doing that. But these are separately. They're not part of the kit. Just so you keep that in mind. There will be regular steely aluminum wheels, non-anodized. So I'm going to get this here, and I'm going to just mount these on here. Oh, need a grub screw. See, I missed that. So let's get the grub screw. Obviously, I was thinking there was an invisible grub screw in there. And I'm going to get this, put it in here. Just a little snug. We don't want it super tight. We just don't want it to move. So there's our axle with our wheels. Then we're going to get our tires and get our Paul gauge 22.166F tires. We're going to put them in here. And just get them on mounted. We're not actually putting them on there permanently like that. And those wheels look good, man. This is going to be a cool looking car. So your anodized wheel. So here is our total width. So let's straighten that out. Now, obviously, you're going to have to true these, and you could true this down. And what I mean by that is that the tire will look like this, and then when you true them down, if you want to true them down so they clear the chassis, they'll look like that. I'll leave the fat side out. Sometimes I'll true these down flat, and sometimes I won't. Just depends. But either way, it works. It's whatever works for you. So then we have a total of, zero out our caliper. We have a total of 6310. Now our maximum width should be 66.88. That's 2 5/8 in millimeters. So we're actually pretty good right there. See, perfect. They're a little bit out. I mean, they'd be fine. You could keep some room for shims if you need to shim the wheels out a little if you need to. It gives you a little leeway. And then you get this right here and you put it right on the body, and then you're going to see what it looks like and where it's going to be at. Which they're a little tucked in, but that's fine. But that's where shims come out. You put a couple of, put 1/60,000ths on each side, it'll pop these out a little bit and it'll make it look perfect. But there's your basic, what you're looking for. If you want to keep them tucked into, you can. But if I go ahead and get some shims, again, you get all the stuff from SEC. Now the Slot Car Corner kit, chassis kit, doesn't have shims, so remember that. We'll use 50,000ths, the purple ones, just instead of 60, just as an example. So if you want to shim these out, remember we are at, what was our number? 6283. We're still within what we need to be in. I'm going to pull this out and just slide all these out. Put a shim here. Put these back in. Put another shim here. Put the wheel back in. Put the tire back on if I don't whack the camera from doing it because it's a little tough. And now we've gone from that number to 6484. A little bit wider. Not bad. Now we're going to put it on there again. Now we're getting there. See, that looks pretty good right there. See what a couple of shims will add. So if you obviously don't want to be too short on the tube, but 4 millimeters is where I started at. That's where generally where I start at is 4 millimeters. So that looks pretty good right there. I think it's exactly where I want it. And then if I want to pop them out a little bit more, I can add more shims. But that looks pretty good for this body. That's a real good looking stance too. If you see it from the side, it looks looks appropriate. And there you go. And then you do the same thing for the front. Now for the front, you're going to use what comes in the kit if you have one, or you're going to use a 81, which is 81. Excuse me. Should I get the right number? 8128, I believe, is the number for the 3/32 front axle, but I think that's a little too big. Hold on a second, because that is 3/32. Let me say that's not 5/32 actually. So hold on a second here. We're gonna go. Should be 81. Should be 8127. Should be the number for the front axles, if I'm correct. Let me check my scrap bin here, which I do have one. See, I have a piece of scrap. You keep this because you're going to use it again. You use a X-Acto blade to cut these open. Again, you got to be careful with these. These can fall or slip, and then you freaking fillet your finger. I'm just doing this to make sure it's the same width. You could also use a rat tail file and just kind of find the hole on it too. Just like that. I probably won't do it, but we'll give it a shot. You could clean it up later, but you're just trying to fit it. And this is not doing what I wanted to do, so I have to get more aggressive with this without cutting myself. Again, be careful with these blades. I should get a sharper blade, so that should be enough. And there we go. That's what we need. 8127 is for your front axle. And if you do get the SEC kit, it'll be in there. This tube will be in there. So what we're going to do is do the same size as what we did the rear. So that was 4 millimeters, right? And if you're off a little, remember there's shims, but it's better to take away than it is to add. That's what, Harry and all of us say. So again, we're going to get 4 millimeters from the camera here so you can see. Right, I may be off a little, but I'll double check. Hold on a second. Let me come over here so I could see it better. Because again, the camera is keeping me from putting my big head in there. So we're going to go right here. So we're going to go right there. Marked. Right. 4 millimeter right there. And going to cut it with the tube. And get it lined up here. This one's a little more tinier, so you gotta hold on to it more. I usually like to get the little, you can see that, see where I have my mark and the little wheel that's gonna cut. And as these get smaller, they get more difficult to cut, so you may need to use a Dremel. But when they're this long, they should be fine. If you have it like this short, that's gonna be really hard to cut. I've done it, it takes a little time. It's a lot more difficult. Obviously, you gotta hold this on and spin it because it's a smaller piece. If you can mount it gently on a vise and then just twirl this around, you can do that also. But I'm just doing this by hand because I do have a little vise here, but I don't want to get off camera. You got to be careful though with that too. You don't want to crush the tube because these can get crushed easily if you're not careful. You can see, just keep spinning it with your fingers. And then you just go in a little bit more, and eventually it's going to cut it. You just have to show patience. This all takes a lot of patience and a little bit of time. If you're going to try and rush yourself for the first time, it's not a good idea because you'll make a mistake. It takes, like I said, time and a little patience. If you get frustrated, walk away, have a drink, whatever you need to do. Smoke, then come back at it again and you'll feel better. And we're going to keep twirling that until it completely breaks off like that. There you go. So here's our other one, right? And we're going to clean it, excuse me, with our X-Acto blade. There you go. Then you also could get this as well, like that. Get our axle. Oop. Take that away. Get your axle. There you go. Now we're going to get our other wheels. Right. Again, be careful taking these out because the grub screws will go flying everywhere. If you take them out of the package with the slot car corner kit, everything's in the bag. Just be organized and make sure all your parts are where they need to be. When you take these out, I would right away put these into the wheel if you're not going to use them right away, because grub screws, especially if you have a carpet like I do here on the bench below me, things go missing and you have to sit there and kind of scour it. I know I lost some things down there. Sometimes I find them later on when I'm like looking for other things. I go, oh, there's where that one went, and then you discover it. But you want to make sure you keep organized and just put these in there like that so that they don't go flying out and go somewhere where you cannot find them anymore. And I'm going to put my wheels on, of course, tighten them up. All right. I'm going to take my tires out. See, this is what you could use windshields for too, this stuff. A flat one if it's a small windshield. But also bottle bottoms, from like soda bottles will do also. But if you go to Hobby Lobby, you could find like small sheets of plastic as well. That's pretty thin, and then you use UV glue it on there, and it works wonderful. We're going to put these on. Okay. Looks like they're a teeny bit shorter. But again, hey, you know what? No worries. You could add shims. That's the beauty about this. Slot car corner carries plenty of shims. There's 60, 44, right? Compared to what we have here, 64. So we're a little bit short, but again, no big deal. Some shims, and I can always cut another piece, get out the extra brass. But when you look at it, it doesn't look too bad. A little bit short there, you can see. But again, the fun of shims here, this helps a lot. So, I mean, you could go ahead and do some measurements and figure out what to add. But if I add some right now, just for, to show you, and again, you could recut, if obviously you don't have the slot car corner kit, you have a piece of tube, you can always recut it. But again, just, double check it. Maybe I should have gone a little bit more, but you know what? It's not a big deal. Do not let yourself get frustrated over when you do something, that minor. That's not a big deal. That's just a minor thing. What you're doing is trying to build the chassis, and that's sometimes that happens. So we're gonna go 62, right? 37 compared to, so about 2 millimeters. 62, yep. So there you go. So 22 millimeters. So I could put more if I want, because I got plenty of axle on here. And again, I'll look at it again, and a little bit. Whoa, put on the camera there. A little bit short still, but again, hey, you know what I could do? I could add more shims. Don't trip. Add more shims, because once you get this, soldered on there, you could add the shims afterwards. But I'm just showing you this, so if you're worried about it being like it's not exact and you kind of undercut it, that's why it's better to add. Better to take away than it is to add. But shims also helps out with adding. Let me do this. I'll put 50 thousandths double on each side. That's 100 thousandths on each side. All right. These purple ones are 50 thousandths, and we'll do that. Right? I mean, heck, this is the fun of building slot cars, man. Figuring things out and gets you excited when you look at it and you have it kind of, even to this point where you're already cut everything, you're looking at it like, man, that looks really cool. And you're gonna get real excited about it because it's your own creation, man. You're not buying from RevoSlot. You're buying from your own name brand. That's the whole point of this. Okay, so we'll go back. Look at that, 65, right? 65.36. Keep dropping it. So 64.83. So 64.95, 65. Let's say 65.67. So we could go a little less if we want. Say you could put 40 thousandths instead of 50 thousands, the extra ones I put. But overall, it looks pretty good right there. I mean, that looks bitchin'. Well, look at that. That's not bad. You can't really tell you're a little bit white on the front, but again, you could do what you want to do to figure it out. And but again, this is just what you do to size it up to get your basic width here. So the overall width of the car is within what we need to be with. And these bodies were intentionally made a tad bit wider by Dave, Harry, and myself to the short track cars to make sure that they're a good, nice, wide pattern, a decent wide pattern, so they handle good and they look good. And when you put the wheels on, that looks like a dirt track racer, man, or asphalt racer. Look at that. That's just absolutely wonderful. And these red anodized wheels are, man, they're fucking awesome, man. Jeez. Well, excuse my language. Little kids might be hearing, but I hope not. But I mean, look at that. That's perfect. All right, my book, I'm fine. I'm happy. I could shim it later a little bit in more if I'm worried about it being out too far in the front. You could, if you want a rivet count, you could go ahead and do it if you'd be my guest. But it's all in the spirit of making the model and making it look cool. And that looks cool. And as you can see, here's the Camaro. Let's measure it. See how I did here. This may be a little bit narrow. See 60, 63, 60. And this one's going to be, right, 6508. So 65. So you can see that's, that looks really good. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So again, this is what's the fun part about building scratch built cars, that you see your own creation coming to life. That looks nice. I could take a photo of this and show it to everybody. They'll be like, ooh. But there you go. So that's our first part of the video here. I'm going to end it here. That's just getting yourself sized up. And then now that you have this already, remove your, axles, wheels, and get the tubes. And then we'll start out with, on the next video, on how we solder this onto the motor bracket. And I'm going to go over soldering, because that's another thing that everybody has a problem with sometimes with soldering. They become unsure on what to think of that, but that looks pretty good, man. I'm pretty happy with that. So, this is going to be a real cool looking car when it's done for the summer. So, as always, thanks for watching, and you take care and have fun racing.